reasons when we drive around and see nothing meets standards, because we don't have any. There are some that have been willing to do it because we have.
Yeah.
There's others that say, bite me. It's not in the regulations.
Yeah, I know, but on the other side of the coin, there has to be a utility factor.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah, so design-wise, being based on how it's being used, we're prescribing this, but if you've got a loading dock, it doesn't work. Is that what you're saying?
Well, and because that's an easy one to come up with.
No, I know, but I'm...
There's a few in there that are more prescriptive and
Okay.
problematic.
Yeah, and so the one thing that really needs to be injected in here is what I call a practicability factor, a utility factor, whatever the right word from your point of view is. But we need business, and I think that we need business broader than just commercial retail.
I think that we're very far down the road from commercial retail. We're going to get light industrial way before we're going to get commercial.
So then we have to put that into the practical scale of what's available.
I understand that, and what I'll actually get us some, I'll do some background around on some of the light industrial areas of some of our neighboring communities and see what they look like.
All right, what's next?
Okay, so now the more global project, I guess you'd say, the zoning code update.
Probably soon as phone.
Oh.
I bet it is.
So really, kind of to today's discussion on the zoning code update, I was just starting to say a little bit minutes ago, we're kind of behind a little bit on our schedule in actually generating what is really a cohesive draft. We talked last time I was out, we ended up having to type everything up because there were no Word docs that were reliably. So we worked on that. The guys have been going through and identifying wording updates to that text, and then we're in the process now of creating, easiest way to picture it is a table of contents, so we know how to organize those to make it much more user-friendly, and we don't repeat. There's a lot of repeats in what I would say is the existing code. We don't want to do that, and so we're working to create a table of contents and an order for that. And I can show you this is kind of like the table of contents now, and it's all broken down, and it doesn't make any sense of what they are because they're just broken down into a variety of different things. And then when I've gone through this, I got it down to like 7 sections, and then each subsection has its own information there. It could just be much more user-friendly.
That makes sense.
We've
The 27 sections.
talking about processors that are in like 5 or 6 of these different types of sections in the existing code. Process should just be in one section.
Like referral process is this section.
Yeah. So we're trying to
Shorter,
make sure we
point is better.
don't lose anything when we do that. So we're keeping track of all of those. Julie typed up all the documents, and so we want to make sure we don't lose anything. We just generate something and go, well, we get it in there. So we still have it all, and now we're trying to compress it down and put notes in there. And so what we have here is kind of a little bit of our work plan. So let's go back. So we're a couple weeks behind, but we're still committed to doing. We originally talked about December 14th was the community meeting that we would have to have a draft available for to get it out ahead of time so the community could come in and talk to us about we're still on board with doing that. I would assume we want to stay on schedule.
Yes, we want to get this done.
So a community meeting, and we're talking December
14th.
So that would be something that we would schedule over at the fairgrounds. It would be a special, it would be very similar to the community outreach meetings, the public meetings that we're having associated with the
But
comprehensive
we'll
plan.
have a draft ready. No, that doesn't mean it's a final draft. But I understand. And it's
Yeah.
one that we can put on the website and all that.
Correct.
Mhm.
I mean, people to look at it, have, they can kind of get their arms around it, understand it, and then they jot their own notes on it, and then come on in and talk.
Yeah.
And the format, and Kyle, we didn't really, I don't think we talked about it.
We haven't.
I picture that format being more of a, kind of like an open house type of format, like 3 to 4 hours, or 4 to 6 hours, or something like that, where you don't stand up there and go, we changed this section to this, and that, and
Oh, I don't want to do editing in this meeting.
no, so it's like, come in and talk to us. You got comments, come in and talk to us. If you can't, come in and talk to us then, here's our email, send us your comments. So it's an opportunity for them to come on in and express themselves and talk through it with us.
I do think
Be
if
much
there's
more.
even a 2 or 3 page max synopsis of what the intent of the whole
Yeah.
project was, what the major changes are, and so people do tend to kind of dive in.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a conceptual change with just
And
nothing.
we put that out with you, right? Yeah.
Okay. So it would be
So I
a
was thinking-
manned open house, where people could come and go.
Yeah.
Well, I presume that there would be kind of, they'd have 3 or 4 page synopsis like Chris said, and then either you or somebody would make no more than a half an hour presentation, and then we'd sit down and do the talking.
Well, I pictured it being flexible, that we'd start like at 2 in the afternoon and finish at 7 at night. So that anyone who wants to combine those hours, they can do that.
Oh,
There
so
really
yeah.
isn't a presentation.
It's an open house,
It's open
people,
house.
The key to making that work then is to have that synopsis on the website
Yeah. Ahead of
prior
time.
to say, this is the scope of the project, this is, this is, this reorganization was a key part of it, whatever that scope is. And then invite, it could go either way, I'm not saying, but you'd have to have a pretty clear synopsis and outline up along with the draft document, to really kind of prepare people to give them that background so they can come in and do that.
and,
I mean, if it conceptually could be reduced into 3 or 4 slides, you just want to put up a rotating.
Yeah, could you give
Yeah,
us
yeah,
a
Rotating screen show, so
rotation?
somebody walks in,
Yeah.
they're
Or
confronted with.
for every hour, you give that 3 to 4 slides.
Yeah.
on the front end of this, almost a promotional piece, we could certainly do a little bit of a push like we're doing again for the comp plan outreach things. We've got some constant contact gathered, we've got the sunshine list, so we've got some email capability. We can even post it in the 2 newspapers, the 2 weeks prior to it, and saying, hey, go here to read that synopsis, and then the open house is this day, to generate that traffic. And maybe you guys, you do an hour there, you do an hour, just make yourselves available, because you guys are the stars, and people might want to come talk to that.
Targets.
Well, I'm serious though, when you say a commissioner
No,
should be
no,
there to listen
no.
to you,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
some draw
No,
to that.
I don't want to sit there for 5 hours.
No, we don't want you to either.
Maybe 3, you give
Yeah.
up that.
No,
time.
no, you give that time.
No, I think it's.
Because I think that you guys are a draw. He wickedly laughs.
We can work the county manager into the rotation. too.
The other option,
Yeah.
another option is
Dump
that, we start at 5:30 or whatever, and do a half-hour presentation, and then open up to questions and answers. But that might exclude
Yeah,
people
people
who
that can't-
just can't get there then.
Well, it's gonna be easier for people to get there in the evening than it is in the afternoon.
But we have some rotation, people like stay-at-home moms, it's when the people come home that life gets busy. So if we started at 2, you have the people that do have some of the day available until family gets home and dinner gets cooked and da-da-da-da-da-da. So they've actually got time there, and then there's the post-work hours as well. So I think if we start at mid-afternoon and go into early evening, we're doing our
Yeah,
best to
and I
capture
do think,
those.
there's definite value there, and I think we need to put our minds into how do we outreach to those that might actually be considering establishing some sort of commercial, retail, other,
Okay.
folks who,
Okay.
folks
Mhm.
Now, we're talking now about the overall rewrite of the regulations, not just the overlay. We're talking
Correct.
about the The entire.
That would be for that.
Right.
Okay,
In essence, based on the schedule, you've already dealt with the overlay.
yes,
By then.
and then that would be just inserted into the package.
It'll end up, it'll get, yeah, it'll get inserted into the-
Yeah. So, if we have that on December the 14th, then what?
Then we go back, we take those comments, considerations, and we go back and we massage the draft, and that next draft comes out after this,
Yeah,
4 weeks later.
yeah, I think you had four.
Something like that, and then
So that
we
would
go, we
be mid-January.
schedule ourselves to end up going back to, go to planning commission for their.
So we're
review.
still on for the final deal in April
Yeah.
of 2018?
Yeah. So so in terms of my presentation, it kind of reiterates what we're working on. It's just really, Kyle and I went through the documents this morning, and we've got red lines all over the place, and it's really hard to read. We're not losing text, but we're tracking changes.
And moving
And
text
starting to
around.
move text around, and it's a really messy looking.
Yes, to have printed it out and delivered it to you today, the way it looks, it would have been,
But
Yeah.
circling back to what Chris just asked about his 3 or 4 page synopsis.
Synopsis of what it is,
Yeah, one of the things that, one of those pages should include a summary of deficiencies in our existing regulations.
Yeah, absolutely, that's like page 1.
Okay, so then we can say, here's how
Page 2
we're.
and 3 explain, yeah.
Because
You have to do the
I
whole
was gonna ask
story.
for something different than that, and that would be, side by sides, but if you reorganize side by sides, it won't work very well.
right,
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
all of these events are opportunities to educate, so even if a little piece is, your master plan is the roadmap. This is a car on that map, or, just how do all these documents work together? Because there's a lot of interest, and rightfully so. So it's an opportunity again to, if we, obviously the focus is the regulations, but a little bit on how these fit into the process and how it affects the development of communities.
Judge, again, stealing from Chris here, what's the update on the master plan?
Update of the master plan, the next public outreach meeting is November 15th at the fairgrounds again. This is the last public outreach meeting. We then have a number of stakeholder meetings. So the stakeholder meetings are gonna be going and meeting with specific groups, whether it's a municipality, whether it's a business interest group, developer group, preservation group, soil conservation, whatever. So those will happen, and I anticipate, God, what did we say? I anticipate that we'll probably have a draft pretty close to the end of the year, early January. I think it's gonna track very well with this. I think that we're actually ahead of this schedule. I'd have to go back at our dates, but the next meaningful date is that November 15th, that last public outreach meeting. And so what when we said last night, our schedule,
The contractor presented to the planning commission last night, so,
Not for approval.
No.
just
this was a work session.
just a work session, kind of a status update on some of the discussions and clarification questions that he had. But yeah, I think.
And then we went through some exercises where we're actually, there's some similarities to this in the way that the old document was organized and how the old document positioned things like goals versus policies versus visions. And we're not, again, losing a lot from the actual old document because the intents and the elements of the old document still seem to hold true given the feedback that we're getting. But it has like 17 goals, they're repetitive, they overlap each other a lot. Some of the goals really aren't goals, they're actually policy statements. Some of the goals are really more visionary goals. So,
Well, where I was going with that question is when we're ready to adopt this, will we also have adopted or be?
very close.
Okay.
They'll be very, very
Because
close.
one is kind of the vision for the county, but it's not regulatory, whereas this is the regulatory part of it.
And
And we talked about, we pictured that, maybe after, sounds like it's spring sometime, maybe when it's adopted, and this is spring, that once that gets adopted, you might say, okay, we wanna update the regs that we just adopted, our new looking regulation document. Let's update it with some of these
Visions, these new ideas.
suggestions that are in there.
I kind of see where you're going too, Grant. I had the same thought was, if we do economic overlays, zones, how does that get into the master plan? And should it be referenced?
But
As
it's
part of the master plan, but.
Specifically, the overlay zone, I don't believe so, but in that, we have statements of economic diversification. We need it.
Right.
So those statements already live in the comprehensive plans are not being lost.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
yeah.
The current one, when it was published, it actually identified in general these areas.
We're actually trying.
And encourage this sort of
Yes.
regulatory work.
Yeah,
There's 20 years behind
is
it.
directly linked to it.
Yeah,
I-
that's one of the things that the county is well known for, is its quick implementation of ideas.
I have a contractual question, and before I forget it, I just thought it was on the table. You said you had trouble finding, good documents, usable Word docs for the zoning, current zoning regs, and then you retyped them, and I appreciate that. Do we own that file? Are you gonna give us that file?
Oh, yeah,
So we
yeah.
can use it?
That's good.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be password protected by an intern who we don't know where they live.
So we could see it, we didn't do anything.
We have them. Tried to break in.
So one of the things that Ethan has gotten done, and I know it's, when I caught
Oh,
it,
yeah.
I didn't realize this,
Make it just a little smaller?
I know, and I can't adjust
You can
that.
zoom yeah, just do plus, do control, plus. No?
I don't know if you go down in the corner, down the lower corner, see if you.
See if you can pop it down here.
Well, I can do this.
Yes,
There you
yeah,
go.
there
This.
There you go.
Not this.
Right there.
Yeah, not when it's in the sludge.
Let's go up to this.
So this is a snapshot, wonderful way to do it, rather than going wah in text and repeating it
Yeah.
section after section, because say you have 6 sections that truly have the same first 5 uses, we repeat it in all 5 sections right now.
So there,
This
so
captures
we have a chart now that lists all the uses, and then the zone districts that are in the county, and then there's either P for permitted or S for special use right now, and those are, right now, that's just today. That's today, that's not a suggestion right now, so this is a holding spot, but, chart, existing. So, at some point in time, we're going to update that chart with sort of a new vision on some of these uses with the new process. So, it'll be a whole lot easier for staff and for, property owner, if someone says, hey, I wanna come in and I'd like to locate I'd like to do an airport here, where can I do that?
what kind of land do I have to buy to most easily do an airport?
I don't have to read through all the zone districts and find their listing and then see where airport finally shows up. This will be much easier, they just have just one chart. So, we've got that put together.
So that'll be right behind,
That'll be in the red.
yeah, oh, maybe I didn't ask my question right. Would that be right behind your table of contents, so that,
It'll be, right now, the way I have this number, it's gonna be in this section 4, it's the zone district stands. There's gonna be a little bit of narrative in there, and then it'll say, the following
Chart.
7 pages is the chart, and here's the uses that are permitted, and here's the zone district that are allowed. So many communities are going to this because it's, you have to do word searches to try to find it.
yeah, it's kind of good to crack.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and they're in alphabetical order, so you do have to kind of.
You know how to spell?
I know how to spell.
have a matrix.
There. And what's also true, not only did we repeat it, say, for 5 different zone districts, over the years, 2 and 3 of them fell out and didn't get included in the middle zone district. It was supposed to be there, you can see it's on either side of it, but suddenly for whatever reason, that 10-acre parcel no longer has the right to have an outbuilding. I'm exaggerating there. But and that was a typo, but that typo got adopted. And so smaller lands can do more things than the bigger lands. It was nonsensical.
So, there are a couple of questions that I'd like us to talk about, and that is, and Kyle probably have to help me a little bit more, Ethan knows this a little bit more on the back of his hand. The PD zone district right now is required to be used if you're gonna have a development
Yeah.
that is more than 7 residential lots.
And we, from the planning perspective, we want to go away from that. That was sort of a novel thing. You went from straight zoning subdivisions where everybody was going to be RA1, straight zone, to this new tool called PUD, where you could get creative and have these mixed uses. Our subdivisions didn't go creative. They didn't go mixed uses. They simply just became very similar looking subdivisions, but suddenly became PUD. We have to track each of those PUDs because they each have an individual zone district associated with them. Our preference would be go back to straight zoning with good regulations.
That would still allow future development that has small retail in that area.
We could even come up with a zone district that says mixed use.
Okay.
There could be a
And that's
zone
all.
district
I'm
called
just
mixed
thinking like
use.
something like a Sun Country that has a small retail establishment.
The flexibility isn't gone, it's just done in slightly different ways, and we can even come up with single pieces of
Everything's
land.
not a one-off. It's-
Not at all. And the mixed use would allow for, and I like this idea in that EDZ where you might get a nice little strip, you might have apartments above it. We can't do that on a single piece of ground right now,
Except it can't be over 50 feet tall.
which is fine for 2 stories. That's perfectly fine. That works just fine.
Why do you care?
Because it's our visual corridor, and we'd rather not drive through Manhattan when we're in the country.
In fact, I find that puzzling because I had a lady come up to me and she says, Grant, I don't want any high density in the county at all. Then she said to me, she said, well, if you had the ideal building on your property, what would it be? I said it would be on Ridge Road, which is right behind my house.
6-story apartment complex?
I said 60 stories. And she says, why is that? I was trying to make a point. I said, then we can have a paved road that comes around it. We can have good police service and all of those kinds. The whole point that I was getting at wasn't the 60 stories. I don't care about that. It was the whole idea is that the concentrated activity has value because it means that we get more income per square foot, and we also get
Per footprint, yeah.
And we get the ability to. The lady's never talked to me since, so.
But generally, with something of that magnitude, all you just do is the EDC is really hugged up to the road. All you do with that is set it back just a little bit, so you wouldn't have that wall. This isn't an multi-family housing thing.
Well, no,
It just
where I was
simply
going
won't.
with that is, this, in theory, would preclude you building a hospital.
Right up next to the road in the first 600 feet, yes. A hospital needs parking area, it needs setback, it needs fire. It probably wouldn't even work in the first 600 feet. It might not, or 800 feet. But
We don't want a hospital.
we do want hospitals, but a hospital's gonna have to go on central water and central sewer, and the fact that it would happen in the EDZ, I think that there would be a lot of negotiation for a hospital came in.
I'd rather you have used the word, could be a lot of encouragement.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. There could be a whole lot of that, but it's still negotiation. They'd have to tell us what their needs were. We'd have to figure out.
That's obvious. But that's not the issue. The issue is the 50-foot limitation on the height.
Up against the court.
There's not any reason why they couldn't come through and rezone their property or request a variance.
Right. There's all sorts of flexible ways.
There's ways to. allow their development.
Well, all I wanna do, the only reason I mean, it is a silly point, I know, is that, we want to encourage this kind of stuff rather than discourage it.
Odds of us getting anything of 50 feet or more in the EDC is slim. If somebody wants to come in that's 50 feet or more, we'll talk to them and we'll figure out how to make it work. If it's something that is there are tools.
Just put it in context, even 50 feet, there's not a building near where Belmar is, over there's not a building taller than 50 feet in there, other than the tower for the cinema, which is their sign, but.
50 feet is pretty
Those
huge.
are 4-story buildings and less.
Where's
Yeah.
that?
Belmar.
And I don't know that's a factor.
But anyways, I was talking about mixed use when we got off on this side. It would be great to have a zone district that allows for that kind of creativity.
I just
So
wanted
that's-
to make sure we weren't.
So my question is,
Just because we haven't done something smart in the past, I didn't want.
I'm struggling with, do we add that in now? Do we wait till the comp plan's done? Do we make this?
I'm
So
so confused. What's the difference between a PUD and this mixed use, or whatever this zoning is?
A PUD is custom, so every subdivision has two layers. One is the rezone, and the other is let's chop it up, that's the plat, that's the actual subdivision. With a PUD or with our zone district, there might be 4 pages that describe RA1. This is what you can do on RA1 land. This is what you can do on RA2 land, and so on. That's what we call straight zoning. So anything that is subdivided and then attached to straight zoning is clearly described and adopted in our regulations. Something comes in as a PUD, it may have a mix of some of those, maybe a few others over here. It's custom. So the pages that are associated with that PUD and its uses by right and its uses by special review are custom and unique to that subdivision. Each PUD has its own unique and custom development guide, which are equal to the 4 pages that associate to RA1. It just happens to be the PUD that says Sun Country Meadows.
Didn't you talk about this the other day, as far as enforcement and code?
That's a different topic,
Is that different?
very different topic, one that we need to address
It
still.
just doesn't, isn't that?
Yes, and that will go away. We won't create more of that.
Okay.
If what we do, right now what Vince is saying is anytime we're greater than a minor development, which is the 7 lots or less, our regulations right now require it to be PUD. We don't know that we want to retain that. We actually, from the planning perspective, don't want to retain that. But do we let it go at this stage? Or do we just capture everything, reorganize everything, and adopt it, and then let it go at the stage of post-comprehensive
I'm
plan?
still not picking up. Are you saying that we'll have a master map that has these areas? This is RA1 area, this is something else area, this is something else area?
You have one.
You already have one now.
The zoning map.
It just reflects what is. We're not saying what can be there. Our maps reflect what is there.
So you're,
But now, if I want to do a development anywhere in the county, right now I've got to go through a PUD.
If it's larger than 7 lots, yes.
So, if I want to do a development in one of these areas now, after you redefine it using, what do I have to do?
You'd still have to go through all of the same steps, but instead of being custom in this PUD, you'd pick one of the existing districts to say, based on the size of my lots, they're 5 acres, I'm going to make them RA1. Or based on the size of my
So
lots,
you're still going through a rezone.
absolutely, all the steps are still the same. We're just saying, let's do less
You don't have
custom.
to do, every property isn't a contract just with that property. That's, PDs are contract.
It's an individual custom contract for each development.
Customized.
They're all different, and as a regulator from code enforcement,
Now,
and
if I
not
was trying to do
regulator.
independence today, what would it be zoned, what kind of zoning would you put on it?
It would have mixed, because they have different sized lots. There might be some that are R2, the very small lots would be R2, as it's defined right now. What we do is if we move away from PUD, we may have to come up with some new zone districts, because we don't cover it yet.
It sounds like you're almost.
Is Gano resident has a right?
Right.
something
And that's
similar
okay, too.
to
But that's okay, because that would cover with your mix.
And, or you could say, you know what, our commercial district right now is so broad that it's frightening. If you had a commercial, straight commercial zone land, there's so many things a person could do with that corner that you're gonna drive the neighborhood next to it crazy, because he could put in a strip joint. We couldn't say no. It's just so broad. Once we tighten and make these straight zone districts better, more easily enforced and all of that, then driving things to the straight zone districts, and when we add the new zone districts that accommodate some of the changes that have happened and what people want and what we want, then going back to straight zoning is a better idea. And for enforcement right now, if I have to go on a code call and there is a development guide, I still have to carry that particular development guide with me to that particular zone, that particular subdivision to say, these are the regulations. And then if I'm enforcing it over there, I have a new book that says these are the regulations. They don't live in my regulation book.
But conceptually, if it was a mixed zoning, you'd have a document somewhat similar to this that allows
Absolutely.
more than one use, but then you have to identify by law
Right.
in the planning.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was a commercial retail law
Yes.
versus this was,
Yeah.
this section was R1, this.
Right. Because right now, if you look at Independence for an example, it's all PUD. Well, that doesn't really reflect the fact that we have some small patio home lots, they're PUD. We have some larger lots, they're PUD. If we had straight zoning in a development like that for small lots, like I said, it might be R2, because that's our small lot one. If there was a 5-acre ranchettes on the perimeters of something like this, those would be RA1. So this subdivision may have multiple, and then say along the corridor where you wanted some mixed use, and apartments over a coffee shop, that might be a mixed use zone district that we don't have in the book yet, but that we write for that reason. But it's still straight zone because we've adopted it as a section, as opposed to a custom.
Conceptually, it's sometimes cleaner, it makes it easier throughout the public process.
I just made a simple diagram here.
I like that.
Just, so right
No,
now,
I mean, just, so you're not, everything that comes forward is a one-off.
Correct.
Everything is new, everything's a different discussion. It makes it hard for the public to track what's going on.
And the standards are the
Needs
standards are the
And it
standards.
makes it harder to keep track.
so pretty much every property is ag, it's gonna be rezoned to something.
Yeah.
But in this example, it's the same piece of property. Right now, if you, the process would, just say that's Independence. Doesn't matter what, but it's got a PD that's approved. It just says on the zoning map, it says PD. And then we have to go find that document. We have to enforce it, understand what it is, what the regulations, requirements are. As opposed to if the zoning was proposed when they rezoned it to R2 here, R1 here, and commercial here, we just go to the code book.
And then
And it's like, that's what, here it is. This is what you can do, this is the setbacks, these are the building heights, this
Yeah.
it's just, it's way easier to track.
Okay, I'm the developer, and I, either one of those, which one is going to be, have the more predictable outcomes?
Bob,
It's
flat out, you've got the book.
He knows exactly what I'm gonna do.
everything.
It gives
Takes
him,
far less time.
yeah.
What's interesting
And
is.
everywhere he wants to build is also, everything's already identified as.
Right. And he can put those anywhere. It doesn't, we don't have a restricted
Once
pattern.
the
Yeah.
zoning.
You can
is
even put a
established.
little commercial
He
corner
says
further into that
he knows what he's
subdivision.
dealing with right up front, and how.
He has to give
how he-
us we have an overall legal description, he has to give us a legal description that describes that, let's say that's the center line of his road. He has to give us a legal description, so the R2 goes here, and the R1 description here, and this is the node, this is the 1,320 foot, whatever. But it would be dimensioned when it got rezoned.
And it could be islands, it doesn't necessarily have to always be that way.
That sounds good. Is this other jurisdictions moving this way?
Yes. I was just gonna say that. We tend to be a follower in a sense. PDs, it's really an interesting thing, but most jurisdictions are going back to straight zoning, but what they're doing is examining their adopted zone districts and making them creative and where they want vibrancy, they have creativity in that zone district, and, that's the way it's going.
So then the question is do we do it now or later? Is that the question?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we pitched this as, let's get a code codified. And rather than introduce a bunch of new concepts, and so I'm struggling with, do we not create that? Do we, so is this, I'm gonna call MD, mixed, or MU zone district, mixed use. It allows, it allows second and third floor, condos, apartments, and the lower is retail. Maybe we split up the commercial district, because it's so encompassing, that, you get a C1 and a C2 zone district. So, do we do that now? Do we do it after is that the next step after we go through the?
How about an intermediate
At the
step?
very least, we have to have a placeholder
Well,
to be defined.
but here's a thought. Here's a thought. With this cleanup and this, I'll call it the scrubbing and reorganization of what we have, is I don't know of anything coming down the pike in a large scale that's going to be applying. If all we do is remove the mandate that says thou shalt be PUD, that's all I'm asking right now. PUD is still available as an option, or straight zoning is available as an option. But if we remove the mandate at this iteration, at least we're not forced to drive them all to PUD right now until we figure out those mixed use steps. And it wouldn't fundamentally change what we make available to applicants. It would just remove the mandate that all must be done that way.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Again, how often are we going to go through this level of effort to get our regulations fixed? It might be,
Might be worthwhile.
yeah. Or at least identify it as an immediate follow-on, because I do, so we are delaying the overall
What I'm thinking,
implementation of the whole rewrite, but we gotta put some.
the only reason that I might not do it now, other than the removing of the mandate, is identify it as a must-do. It's still a part of this, but that it follows the adoption of the comprehensive plan, because then we can state we actually are being responsive. We're introducing these new zone districts that have never lived in Elbert County before, and responsive to this input and this updated document that says, hey, we need some commercial stuff, and we need some alternatives to enable the county to prosper. And this new zone district.
How difficult is it going to be to create your definitions? To me, this sounds like a definitional issue. Is that a burdensome effort, or is it something relatively easy?
Well, it's gonna take some time to make sure that you've got a district that's actually usable.
Well, that's where I was going, yeah.
So, what's usable, what's usable somewhere else, may not be usable here. Obviously, we gotta craft it so it works here in Elbert County for you. Then you can, at some point in time, we end up with this zone district in the zone categories, and there's no zoning in the county that allows that yet. So then someone has to come back and go through the rezoning process to do that. Another option is you can go when a community adopts a new zoning code. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that community goes through and remaps their entire jurisdiction. It says, okay, we, the 3 Board of County Commissioners, we're not going to have everyone go through this rezone process, but we believe there are certain properties that should be allowed to be rezoned with our new zone districts. We'll establish that zoning on those properties, and we'll have a public hearing process about it, and people will be notified that the zoning on their property could be changing, and you can adopt that, and then that's their new zoning. So they wouldn't have to go through that rezoning.
We're the implementer of that rezone, though. We're the applicant.
So there's 2 applicants that can rezone property. That's the property owner and the jurisdiction. The jurisdiction obviously here is the three of you acting as the commissioners. So you could do that.
I don't, that sounds terrible.
No, it can be wonderful, too.
You're doing that with
You're dictating to a property owner
That's what.
his utility of his land forever.
You're dictating by adopting the EDZ.
You're doing that with the.
You're doing that with
No, I'm
EDZ.
not, I'm giving
Yes,
them
you
the
are.
choice.
But it's still a choice.
Still choice.
But no, if we went through this before. and
But if
found
what
a
you
way
do
to-
is you rezone the property, and let's hypothetically say they don't lose any of the rights that they had on their base zone, and all we're doing is rezoning it to allow additional
Yeah,
mixed
but
uses.
if you
To
would
allow
think-
something is different than changing zoning.
No,
I
I,
think where you go is that
Okay.
you do have an issue because you change what can be enforced.
no.
Yeah, you do.
If Joe,
Because your PUDs are governed through a different way.
we're not talking about
We're
I'm not talking about PUDs at all.
Okay.
So if John Smith owns this 40-acre parcel, and it happens to be, and it's ag, this is just a really rough example, and he's got these lists of uses associated with ag. Those are his current rights. The county goes in and calls this AN. For now, it's called ag mixed. So he continues to retain all of those rights, but in this rezone, we add these 3 or 4 mixed uses on top of it. We still have gone through a rezone. Its new zone is ag mixed. He's retained all of his other rights, and we've added some additional rights. Very similar to the EDZ, but this actually is a rezone.
So pretty much in my main properties are in the market.
Yeah, which is real similar to what we're doing with the EDZ.
Very similar.
Okay, which is true because we are changing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. We're allowing them more
Additional
use,
uses.
yes. it-
But in the EDZ case, you're going 800 feet in. With the rezone, we have rezoned the whole thing.
And that brings up another issue, is that the 800 foot on each side, I have no problem with that, except you're gonna end up with triangles everywhere. Because the properties are, and I'm visualizing Highway 24 because it's on an angle, or 70, it's on an angle too, when you get out by Deer Trail and Agate, is that, what do you do with your triangles? Because the properties are surveyed square, and your usage is on an angle.
You graze cows on it.
Yeah,
It's ag.
that's,
Build a house on it and graze cows, and then work up from it.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we got 80 acres and take the first 800 feet. There's 40 on the back.
No, it's worse than that. What if you only have 20 acres and you cut it through it on an angle? You may have 3 acres that's non-usable for anything.
There's no use to go.
It still has ag use.
Still has its ag
No, it
use.
doesn't.
It does.
20 years to fix it.
No.
In theory, but it doesn't.
But
And the
it
reason-
does, because he's
No,
not.
it doesn't. And the reason it doesn't, it takes 35 acres to a cow. What are you gonna graze on?
Because the odds of him covering all 20 acres with the EDZ are slim, so he's probably gonna have more than the 3 acres. The other thing is he can build his house on the 3 acres and work up front. Sure
Not
he
without,
can.
not without doing a subdivision.
Yes, he can. It's mixed use, yes, he can. It's not, we
It's
haven't
not within the 800,
subdivided.
it's not within the 800 acres, or 800 feet, I
It
should say.
doesn't matter. He has a use by right on ag land to build a house all day long, every day. He
On
can
3
build 2
acres?
houses. It's not a subdivision. The 3 acres just happens to not be under the shadow of the EDZ. We haven't subdivided that 40 acres. Every right that was ever associated with that 40 acres still remains, including all of the residential uses. So if you have a little gap that is 1,000 feet back, houses can go on that, 2 houses can go on that. The front can be houses, could be business, could be anything.
Well, I understand within the 800 feet, I have no problem
On
with
the
that.
back, anything
We're
out
gonna
of
end
it.
up with these wedges, and that's, that are not, that they can't be sold.
But if, let's say his property's let's say it's 850 feet deep.
Mhm.
Maybe he just wants to rezone the entire property and just go back and do commercial uses and do either PD or zone it to commercial and go through that process. That's an option that you can take, but it doesn't matter what number we.
No,
Yeah.
no, where I was going with
That's
that.
always gonna be an option. It's just-
No, where I was going with that, if we do create the wedges, I think that wedge should be able to be included in the overlay area, just because of its contiguous common ownership and that type of thing.
Well, how big is the wedge then?
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
We have to pick a number.
Yeah, of course.
And so somebody's gonna get left out. There's gonna be somebody who sort of falls in the middle and loses. You've got the guy that's got the 3-acre wedge and our cutoff's 5 acres. Or the guy that's got, so it just creates another layer of
I guess
description.
any parcel that sits within the 800 feet.
You've got
But-
700-acre
But
parcel,
if you've got a section.
right?
you're-
There are very few of those along, I think you'd probably be surprised that there are, anyways, without going into, I think it would prolong this project dramatically if we had to drill into each parcel that is coming
No, we
along
don't need
these.
to drill it in each parcel. All we need to do is assume if they have, and using your language, if it's, because if it's greater than 35 acres, that's easy, because it's, then by definition it's ag. So I have no problem with that. It's these little wedges that I find, because how is the assessor going to decide what's commercial and what's useless, valueless? Because if you've got the 3-acre wedge, you can't sell it, nobody will buy it. You don't have access to it because it's not accessed through the commercial. It just creates these, it's recreating double X zoning.
No, it's not, because it's not a subdivision.
If you,
It creates unusable property.
if you set a percentage, if the 800 feet zoning, if that strip covered 80% of the property, the entire parcel.
That's what I'm pushing for, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not, again, we have to do the work.
Right, I'm just
It delays
wondering,
things, it
now we
delays
start going
things.
into the fairness factor, that Joe next to me just happened to be lucky enough to own, and I didn't get that benefit. You know, I'm just saying, I know, so I don't know where,
But again, we don't know the scope of the
Yeah,
issue without drilling down.
that argument doesn't have any merit either. It's like saying you create different churches. The point is if you're creating these little wedges, is that, and I like Chris's solution to it, and that is if it's same ownership, contiguous, and I hadn't even thought about using percentage. I was going to use, I like that better. If it's 85% or whatever the right number is within the
That seems.
I mean, without doing
Yeah.
research,
Yeah.
I mean,
without
there might
drilling
be.
into the,
yeah, you don't want to drill it.
we'd have to drill
It may
into
not
each
be an
to do
issue.
that,
Yeah.
so I don't think we can.
Well, I think
We have GIS, we have a parcel map, we draw it on GIS and look at it.
It doesn't matter if you just one.
I'd like to know how many units.
Oh, yeah, that's true,
I've got
that's
it on
true.
my map.
Right.
You know, because
No.
I'd like to really see, because then,
I made
So
a
I think
mistake.
if we go back through the, so that we can.
Figure out what's
get the
available.
GIS file, we can go through and see what the partial shapes are and how the 800 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, all of the parcels are square, or generally square, except the ones that are triangles.
Because we're going in to figure out what's PUD and
But
what's
this-
residential
but-
already.
But what you
in
just
those
suggested
strips.
is the easiest solution of all, just put some kind of a percentage.
Yeah.
And 80% is,
That was mine.
Well,
I just reviewed it.
That's what I'm going to do the work.
whatever the right number is,
That's your job.
then, to me, that makes sense. And it's not gonna create.
We just talked about this before, we're just kind of.
Anyway,
now let's go back to Chris
Yeah.
hasn't.
The mixed use, are there other kind of conceptual bigger leaps that you've come across to these? I mean, is this the only big thing like that? Because if doing it and doing it right and doing it right now delays us by a month
Yeah.
versus trying to get to it in the next 20
Um,
years and
yeah.
doing it. If there's 10 things like this, then we got
Let's
to prioritize where we put that effort.
I mean, there's details in those existing resolutions.
Of the zone district, you mean?
Yeah, I'm even gonna put in, even, I think that's why it shows up here, even the compensation for planning commission shows up in the
Zoning regulations,
zoning
it
regulations.
shouldn't be there.
It shouldn't hold it, just.
Right. We're just talking
How
about,
much, what our paycheck is?
no, what the planning commissioners get per meeting.
Oh, the $30 that they get for all?
There's
It's in the
detail,
it's in
it
the
just
regulation.
doesn't need to live there. But no, I see, are we inventing anything?
Well,
Yeah,
We've got the overlay
if we
district.
can do this
new,
work with
and mixed
minimal
uses.
effort at this point,
Mhm.
why can't we?
I would say the only other one that I think that we ought to consider for an invention is the historic community district. So we have management and
It's
mixed.
it's interesting you brought that up, because I went down and talked to 2 or 3 people that are in Elbert,
Mhm.
and their comment was, stay out of our business.
Well, it gives them the right to,
No, these are business people.
but what it does is it grants them a whole bunch of mixed uses, it grants them reasonable setbacks for.
No, the reason I said what I said is if we go that way, and I have no objection to it, we've got a sales job.
Absolutely. I think that it's a fairly, not gonna be a hard one, there's the education burden of it. But right now, my example is that I had somebody come in that says, I just bought a lot in Elbert, it's got this dilapidated house on it. I wanna tear it down and I wanna rebuild. Well, it's non-conforming right now, because it doesn't meet county setbacks. The smallest setbacks I have are the R2 setbacks, and they don't address a 25-foot wide lot. So in that historic community district, we can address Agate, Matheson, and Elbert's.
Now, you help
25.
that somewhat by the eraser of,
We did, but that doesn't help setbacks. That doesn't help setbacks.
yeah, they have to buy another lot.
Yeah,
Right.
because then they can do it.
Right, but now what we'd like to be able to do, because there may be those individual lots that have been owned by a family, this is already developed, this is already developed, I don't have the option to buy another lot. So we need some town-like district that affects those town-like communities, and right now, the county zoning,
I don't disagree with that.
that's the only
but I
other
think
big
that-
convention.
That one's a little different than the mixed use piece, because we're actually affecting people who live here now. I mean, I think there's probably, that one might be.
I'm just saying, it's another new invention.
No,
Okay.
and so, but the mixed use one, I think it would be best to build that in.
I think
now.
a big-
If we can do that now.
I honestly think it just, we don't just have the names, the names of the districts, but based on what you've got in there, other than maybe the mixed use and then breaking up the commercial into what I would probably suggest is two commercial districts. So it's not, you
No,
know,
but when you say that, what are we talking about now? 2 commercial districts?
like C1 and C2.
Our commercial district as a standalone is incredibly broad, and it's so broad that it reduces the predictability of people living around that parcel as to what might possibly crop up there. So if you
So,
break the commercial
going back
uses.
to our economic overlay zone, does these different commercials, are we talking about definitions or?
We didn't put what I would say is the heavy commercial or heavy industrial uses in the overlay zone.
Not the super heavy ones. The
No, I
super heavy
understand
ones
that.
need to be on water and sewer, they would, or something like, that's an example. But our commercial zone district right now is a single standalone.
So when we're not talking about, when you say districts, are we talking about identified?
We're talking about the section in the book, straight zoning section in the book that describes.
Yeah, I know.
But in zone districts. Or taking one and breaking it apart and just making 2
So-
commercial districts as opposed to just 2 types.
Yes,
Yeah.
all of it would be covered, but you can more appropriately direct the
Kind of like we
weights
have
and
a general
impact.
industrial and a light industrial.
Very similar, you
Yeah.
have a heavy commercial and a light commercial, that's a really good example.
Yeah.
So how would that impact our overlay?
It doesn't have anything to do with you.
Oh, okay. That could be enacted.
I think that's about all I would think.
Because I mean, if those are the substantial,
Yeah.
only substantial things we're considering.
Might as
Yeah,
well.
do them.
So we're just done.
Okay.
5 years to do this.
The historic town ones, I think is just a little different
Okay.
because we are infecting.
I think
Current
what
residents.
Brent said is also true, that it's gonna take an educational component, we really want that community to buy into it.
To me, that's something we should make sure is envisioned in the master plan.
Because there's only 2 places that really are affected, and that would be Elbert and Ag.
And Matt,
Well, Matheson, basically fixed it with the overlay.
But you don't change the setbacks. If somebody has a very tiny lot in Matheson, right now they're governed by large land regulations. They don't govern small postage stamps well, because if it's only 50 feet wide and the setback is 25 feet, how do you
I
develop it?
understand. But that, isn't that relatively, if the only question is setbacks, that's easy to fix. Because we could basically say that if they're a historically platted town, and all three of the ones we just talked about, the existing setbacks would remain in effect. And I don't mean our setbacks, I mean theirs.
There aren't any. There aren't any.
Well, they
These
still
were
tell
done in
us.
1800s.
I understand that. But
They were done before there weren't any existing. They were,
If they wanna add on to their house, then.
They can't right now.
right. There aren't any existing. There were no ones.
I understand that. But if
That's where the historic district covers it. It actually gives them some standards that make sense for them.
That would be better.
Oh,
yes, I
Because
understand
then
that.
it would kind of open up, give them